When I passed at night coming home from work, I could see the light burning. It hung in the darkness like a square moon. In summer, the window would be thrown wide open and I could see shadows bouncing on the wall. In winter, the window would be shut tight and the frost would splinter the light into a million little diamonds. Maybe on occasions I'd say to myself, poor guy working overtime again. Doesn't he ever get home? Then I'd be past the college buildings, I'd turn the corner into my street, and I'd be home.
The American Cancer Society presents Square Moons, an original radio drama written by Herb Tunick, produced and directed by Walter King, starring Roger DeKoven. Square Moons is the story of a search.
Millie.
Hello, dear.
Hey, Millie, come here. I want you to do me a favor.
What is it? And hang your coat up on a hanger.
I want you to take a look at that sore on my lip.
What about it?
It's beginning to feel pretty bad.
Oh.
It's bleeding a little.
Let me see.
See?
Yes.
What the devil do you think it is?
I thought you said you got it shaving.
Yeah, but why should it take so long to heal? Looks awful, doesn't it? Everybody who sees me says you hit me on the kisser with a coffee pot.
Sometimes I've a mind to. Well, what are you going to do about it? And stop poking it.
I don't know. I guess I've let it go long enough. Millie, call Dr. Stanley. See if you can make an appointment for me to see him at 8 tonight.
Oh, that makes sense. Now, go up and get washed. Dinner's getting cold.
Later, I sat in Doc Stanley's waiting room trying to get the point of a cartoon in a magazine. It may have been funny indeed, but I never did get the point.
You can come in now, Hastings.
I dropped the magazine on the chair and walked down the narrow corridor to a small walnut-paneled office.
Glad to see you. Sit down. How's the wife?
Fine.
And now what seems to be your trouble?
This, Doc, under my lip.
Let's have a look. We'll get some more light on that subject.
I tried to watch his face for some sign of emotion, a wince, perhaps, a little smile, a shadow of concern. I drew an absolute blank. Then he took a tiny instrument and snipped off a piece of the sore, just a speck. I watched him put it in a little bottle. I said to him, "What's that for?"
Hastings, we don't have to go into any cat-and-mouse act, do we?
No, we don't. Give it to me straight, Doc.
Okay. I'm testing that ulcer on your mouth for cancer.
Cancer?
It may or may not be malignant. Understand that? That's why I'm testing.
Cancer.
Now, look, I'm by no means sure that what you have is cancer. I'll know when I get the lab report.
Well, meantime, I suppose I'll just have to wait.
There's nothing you can do.
Goodbye. Thanks again. Outside in the street, the noises of the night had a faraway sound like muffled echoes. I walked home with a feeling of something drifting in space. Cancer. Cancer, the killer. It had come down out of the posters on the wall, the bus cards, the billboards. It had suddenly become as personal as a toothbrush.
That you, Frank?
Uh-huh.
What did the doctor say?
Boy, he didn't say.
What do you mean?
He has to wait for a lab report. He sent them a specimen from the sore. Let's sit down, Millie.
What is it, Frank?
Well, there's a chance that it may be serious. It may be cancer.
Cancer?
Maybe.
But it can't be.
No? Why not?
Well, it just
It
doesn't.
just doesn't happen to us. To other people, yes. To us, no.
But it looks like nothing but a little open sore of some kind.
Well, who knows? Millie, what does one do in a situation like this?
What do you mean, dear?
It has its interesting points, you know. What's the proper reaction to news of this kind? Is it fear, horror, revulsion, surrender? I don't feel anything like that.
How do you feel about it, dear?
Well, I'll tell you, if I can put it into words. Something is happening to me that I don't understand. I want to understand it.
Well, what can you do about it?
I don't know. Try to find out what cancer is, what's going on. I'll do that, too, tomorrow.
Now, let's go to bed.
I called the office the next day and told them not to expect me in. I had some research to do. I went to a library. I found a book on cancer written for the layman, for me. Here's how it explained it.
In cancer, there is cellular anarchy, a revolt against the balance of nature. Something unknown causes the usual discipline of a cell to go to pieces. The cells become wild, untamed masses of multiplying tissue. They crush the normal cells that lie in their path. They become greedy, avaricious parasites that steal the food of healthy cells and weaken them into submission. They are a mass of spreading malignancy, an uncurbed, unorganized growth. Cancer is nature gone mad.
Coming home that night, I passed the college grounds and automatically looked up at the window. The square moon was hanging in place. Then, for the first time, perhaps because I never bothered to notice it before, I saw a little brass plate on the side of the building. It said, Cancer Research Center. I turned into the building and walked upstairs. Most of the rooms were closed and dark, but there was a light in one, and a young man in a white smock.
Hello. Can I help you?
Well, my name's Hastings.
I'm Barton. Come on in.
I guess I've walked past this place every night for 2 years, and I've never seen your light out. I've even got a funny name for it.
What?
I call it a square moon.
Well, I'm the man in the moon. Yeah. I guess I have been keeping late hours.
Working on cancer?
In a way, working on a grant from the American Cancer Society.
Well, I've got a kind of personal interest in the subject.
Really?
My doc tells me that this little gimmick under my lip may be cancer.
I'm sorry.
What are all these gadgets?
Oh, a polarograph.
What does it do?
Well, right now we're using it to measure the oxygen consumption of nerve cells of frog embryos.
Come again.
I said I'm measuring the oxygen consumption of nerve cells
in frog embryos.
Yeah.
You're kidding, aren't you?
Well, no, I'm not.
It's incredible.
I don't get you, Mr. Hastings.
Here I am. If I remember right, some hundreds of thousands of others walking around with cancer. Praying for a cure, looking to science for life itself. And what's happening? You chaps haven't gotten any further than playing around with frogs. Will that cure my cancer?
No. No, it won't. Here, have a cigarette.
Thanks.
You've got a good case of nerves.
Wouldn't you? In my spot?
Sure.
Well, how about it? Why are you fiddling around with frog embryos instead of trying to find a cure for cancer?
Let me get you straight on something right off. There are cures for cancer. For many types of cancer, early cancer. Right now, 75% of all patients treated in hospitals for early cancer of the breast are being cured.
Yes?
Skin cancer, the type you may have, gets a 95% rate of cure when treated early. You better remember that.
95%?
95% of early cases. Remember that, of early cases.
Mm-hmm.
Well, certainly we haven't been able to find cures for all types of cancer, especially those cancers that can't be detected until they've spread in the body. Now, that's the cancer problem. That's what we're working on.
But frog embryos...
Well, the nerve cells of frog embryos are just as much alive as the nerve cells that are making you jumpy at this very minute. Do you know what cancer is?
Yes, a wild growth of cells.
Okay. Then the way to get to the bottom of the cancer problem is to understand the cell, how it grows, what it needs to grow, and what happens to suddenly send it tearing hog wild through the body.
But it sounds like such a long way around.
The only way around. Millions of dollars are being spent on cancer research. Hundreds of men and hundreds of laboratories are burning the midnight oil, hanging up square moons, as you call them. From simple biology to to complicated microchemistry, from genetics to chemotherapy, from zoology to mouse diets. Everything, the whole gamut of science is being explored looking for knowledge. Basic knowledge. The knowledge we need to fight cancer.
I never thought it was that big.
Yes, the American Cancer Society is interested in fundamental research because it knows that the solution to cancer is knowledge. Not half knowledge, but complete knowledge. Sure, I'm working my head off with frog embryos, and that won't cure your cancer. But it sure may help cure or control cancer if it ever attacks your son. Or mine.
Thanks for the cigarette.
Going home?
Uh-huh. Nerves feel better.
Swell. Drop in again.
I will. Goodbye. I went home, had dinner, turned on the radio, and read the papers. Millie said nothing about cancer. Neither did I. About 9 o'clock, the bell rang.
Stay where you are, dear. I'll go. Why, hello, Dr. Stanley.
Good evening, Miss Hastings. Boss home?
Morning, Doctor.
I happen to be in the neighborhood, and I've got that lab report. Well, you want to hear it?
What is it?
Good news. No cancer.
Oh, Doc, I think I'm going to cry.
Oh, that's old-fashioned. What about you, Hastings? How do you feel? Want to cry?
No, but I don't want to laugh either.
I can understand that.
It's been an experience. Doc, what are the odds against my really having cancer before I die? Against Millie having cancer? Against you having cancer?
Well, that's hard to say exactly. We do know it strikes in one family out of two on an average.
Pretty good odds.
Pretty grim odds.
Except for one thing. Square moons.
Square moons?
Yep. Lights in the night. Men working overtime trying to get to the bottom of the cancer problem. Working for me and Millie and you.
And getting places.
No Pasteurs, no Kochs, no Flemings. Just plain men and women sweating out their lifetimes looking for the answers. You know what it does? It makes you feel a little guilty.
Well, I've got a prescription for that.
Yes?
Every time you feel like that, just haul out your checkbook. Think how much you can give to the American Cancer Society, and then double the dose.
I'll buy that, Doc, and the double dose, too.
Good thing. That'll make sure your square moons keep shining all night, all over the country. Jumping Jehoshaphat, 10 o'clock.
10 o'clock.
And all's well.